Welcome to the evolution. Evolution of what? What is evolving at the moment? Consciousness. Yeah. Not your personality, not your ego, not even your mind, but you. The you that's behind your personality, the you that's behind your ego, the you that's behind your mind. That's what's evolving at the moment. So welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to have a listen. It's so nice to be out in public again instead of hiding behind a Zoom camera. It really is great to actually interact with real live bodies again. So thank you for coming. This slide I took off a presentation from 12 years ago when I was doing talks on the Mayan calendar. And did anyone attend any of those talks of mine? A couple of you, yeah.
On what is it, John?
Mayan calendar in 2012. I was talking about, the end of the world that was happening. And I said, there isn't any end of the world. It's a transformation of consciousness. It's an evolution of consciousness. And if you look at how consciousness has evolved over the last 11, 12 years, it's quite amazing. I mean, the stuff that's talked about now, the information we have access to today, we didn't have 10, 12 years ago, that's for sure. And there is an openness today to receive this information that there wasn't back in those days. So there's definitely an unfolding and an awakening of mankind. Awareness is the greatest agent for change. Your awareness is fundamental to your evolution. Now, most people are waiting for time, for future, for fulfillment. Am I right? We're waiting for, Donald Trump to come back in office or to get out of office, or we're waiting for, the banks to collapse or not to collapse, or for us to be all given gold or not given gold, or we're waiting for our mother-in-law to die, or for us to meet the new partner, or Malema to go to jail or not to go to jail to become president. We're waiting for future to help us feel better. Yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And that is the biggest illusion. So this is about a transformation from your story into something more real than your story. So that's what we're going to be covering today. And your story, that waiting in time, is the matrix. And this process that we're going through is an awakening from out of that matrix of mind. Anyone see the movie The Matrix all those years ago? Yeah. Did anyone realize it was about mind? Few of you. So that movie was all about a perception of reality that wasn't real. And it's, Albert Einstein said we live in an illusion. He said it's a very persistent illusion. So yeah, it appears very real, the story that we're telling ourselves every day. We live our whole lives by that story. But it isn't real. Ultimately, it's not. What is more real than your story?
The moment, now, truth.
So just close your eyes for a moment. Close your eyes. And feel the chair under your bum. Just close your eyes and feel the sensation of your chair meeting your bottom. Feel the backrest of the chair against your body. This is real. This is experientially real. This is reality. Now, as you keep your eyes closed, just focus for a moment on your breathing. Take a deep breath in and let it go. Let it go, let it go, let it go. Take another deep breath in, very deep breath, and then let it go. Let it go. And as you let go, sink down deeper into your body. Feel your feet, maybe on the floor, and feel your hands where they're resting. And just become connected directly to your body. Say to yourself, I wonder what my next thought is going to be. Just try that. I wonder what my next thought is going to be. Okay, let's try that again. This time become like a cat waiting at a mouse hole for the mouse to appear. So there's a sense of anticipation. And say to yourself, I wonder what my next thought is going to be. Try that a third time. Say, I wonder, I really wonder what my next thought is going to be. Take a deep breath in. And gently open your eyes. Did anyone find a brief moment of stillness before the thought appeared? Some of you did, some of you didn't. That stillness, that space, is not in the matrix. That stillness is in reality. But we don't recognize it. We don't value that stillness. So we continually invest our whole attention in our thoughts. Am I right? And there's that fundamental error that was made a number of years ago. I think, therefore I am. And most of us have this complete identity with this thinking mind. Now, the thinking mind is a manipulated state. It's a state that's been programmed from the moment of conception, maybe shortly after that, until today. You've been manipulated and controlled through your mind by your early life experiences, by your parents, by maybe your religious upbringing, definitely by your education. You've been manipulated by the media and your peers and the world around you. So your thoughts are not your thoughts. They are a function of a manipulated mind. And the statement that I think, therefore I am, is completely incorrect, because you're not even doing the thinking. The mind is doing the thinking and tends to regurgitate a lot of past. A lot of past. But when you're present, like you were a moment ago, after taking a few deep breaths and just inquiring as to the nature of your thoughts, suddenly you were alive, fully alive, more intelligent than you are when you're in the matrix. And that's the only time and place that you can make new choices. Because if you make them from your thinking mind, it's your history that is making the choice for you and not your presence. We're going to be looking at that today. So in sharing this, your mind is going to become a bit confused because there's not much to grasp to. And yes, in order for you to transcend, in order for you to evolve into who you really are already, your mind has to become your servant. And the mind doesn't want to do that because the mind likes to be in control. It likes to understand. It likes to predict. It likes to remember. That's what the mind does. But it also makes you a little bit unhappy, gives you a bit of pain and a bit of suffering, and ultimately usually kills you. That's the mind. And there is another way. There's another way to live our lives. And the Mayan calendar was all about the transformation of consciousness into the fifth level of awareness. The Hopi Indians spoke about the fifth world being born, the fifth sun being born. And I'll explain a bit about what that means. But going back to the Hopis, they had a prophecy from the early 2000s. They said, there is a river flowing very fast. It is so swift and there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They'll feel they're being torn apart and will suffer greatly. Know that the river has a destination. The elders say we must push off from the shore. And I say, the elders say we must let go of the shore and push off into the middle of the river. And I say, see who's there with you and celebrate. At this time in history, we take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment we do, our spiritual growth comes to a halt. The time of the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves together as we are here today and banish the word struggle from your attitude and vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones we're waiting for. And most people have been waiting in anticipation for someone to lead you to the promised land. Yes or no? I mean, we had a look at this Trump hysteria and Q and all of that. Everyone's waiting. But this poem, or this prediction, says we are the ones we're waiting for. We're waiting for our own evolution. Don't look outside yourself for leaders. You are it already. There's a law in the universe that says whatever you put your attention on expands. And we've put our attention on future and on past. Am I right? So that's our total reality, and there's another way. There's a completely different level of awareness. And when you start to access that, your perception of life completely changes. And you stop being a prisoner of the mind, and you start being who you really are, which is a powerful, powerful conscious creator of reality. And we're standing on the very brink of that opening of awareness. you know, in the Western Cape, it's lovely to live here, and come August, September, the flowers come up the west coast. And you go up there and it's a sea of flowers. Isn't it beautiful? Now, I'm sure at other times of the year, the odd flower opens and then says, hey, it's not the right time of the year, and then closes again. But come spring, they know it's time to open. We are now entering spring. This is the time of awakening. And it's going to be easier now to awaken than well, many, many years. I'm not going to count how many years, but probably like 25,000 years. Easier to realize who you really are now than it has been for a long, long, long time. And so you chose this time to be born. You weren't kicked down here, you know, because you were a naughty boy or naughty girl. You actually volunteered to come down to this plane because you wanted to be here at this time. This is a very auspicious time, very challenging time, yeah, for the mind, very uncertain, very disturbing, very disorientating, but that's perfect for your evolution. Eckhart says awareness is the greatest agent for change. And hopefully in this talk this afternoon, your awareness might shift slightly so that you start valuing something that's not a thing more than you ever have before. Because whatever you value, you pay attention to. Whatever you value, you spend your attention on. You spend your money on. You spend your focus on. Whatever you value. Yes or no? And at the moment, we might have heard the concept presence. We might have read a few books on it. But it's completely useless until it becomes integrated into your day-to-day, moment-to-moment living. And you will not do that until you value it. Most of us value the matrix. We value the matrix and we manipulate it through that attachment to the matrix, to that need for time. It's a fundamental error, which I believe has been fostered on us by a society that doesn't want us to be empowered with who we really are. Because an awakened person can't be manipulated. A person can only be manipulated in time, in mind, and in fear. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So go back 80, 90 years when Max Planck and Einstein and Niels Bohr were starting to look at the field of quantum physics. And what they found there was truly amazing. Does anyone understand quantum physics here? Then you know nothing about quantum physics. Because no one can understand quantum physics. And I'll tell you why. Because it's a realm beyond mind. And you can only understand that which you can put in your mind. And your mind is so tiny compared to the extent of reality. So we can grasp it a little bit, but it's not possible to understand. You can accept it. You can accept that there's multiple realities in this one moment. And you can accept that if I change my mind, then what I'm physically looking at physically changes. But you can't understand that because it doesn't make any sense. You can understand that time goes forward day by day by day, but you can't understand that time goes backwards as well, and that time exists in many different realms simultaneously. And if you believe in past lives here? None of you. Few of you. Well, your past lives aren't past lives, they're here. They're right here in this moment. Why? Because ultimately, time is an illusion. And everything takes place in the pristine presence of now. Don't ask your mind to understand what I'm talking about because it can't. It's outside of its dimensional comprehension. You know, if you have a Word 2000 document or Word 2000 program on your computer, you haven't updated it, and someone sends you a Word 2020 document, your computer can't open that document. Can't, because it doesn't have the program to read that information. Your mind doesn't have, your brain, your left brain analytical time-based process of information doesn't have the capacity to process presence. It can't. But you can experience it directly, and most of you did already when you went into the space between your thoughts. That's direct access to that power, that infinite power of all of creation, which is your true essence. Do we have any humans in the world, in the room? Any humans? Yeah? Do we have any beings in the room? No, most of you are human doings. Most of you are human thinkings. Very few of you know about being. The mind says, being, what can I do with that? Where am I going with that? How, you can't make me any money. So we ignore the being part of the human. And we are human beings. Where we intersect, that's reality. Where the human side connects with the being side, that's where you are empowered to be a conscious creator of reality. From left brain thinking to right brain awareness. Technology is not going to save us. Our computers, our tools, our machines are not enough. And machines, this is a machine. This is a machine. A computer is a machine. Even if you get a chip implanted in you and you go on to Elon Musk's, what's it called, that where he connects your brain to the internet? Neuralink. That's a machine. And our machines are not enough. We have to rely on our intuition, our true being. Anyone know Joseph Campbell?
Yes.
Amazing man. I mean, the one saying that most of us will know, he said, don't follow the money. He says, follow your bliss. Follow your passion. He says, if you follow the money, you may have money, but if you don't have money, then you've got nothing. He says, follow your passion, follow your bliss, and you will have a successful life. And you may also have money, but even if you don't have money, it doesn't matter because you've got your bliss. That's Joseph Campbell, an amazing teacher in the last century. Unbelievable man. He said that we have to rely on our intuition. Now, Albert Einstein said that we have a servant, a fantastic servant. It's called the left brain, the logic. He said we have, though, a sacred gift called intuition. He said we've created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. That's Albert Einstein. Not a new age, mumbo-jumbo, tin hat teacher. It does require, though, a shift in our consciousness. Albert Einstein said you can't solve the problem from the same level of thinking you were at when it was created. You have to shift your awareness. So a lot of us are looking at where the world is right now, and we're seeing the diabolical nature and the terrifying future that's being painted for us with this global reset. And we're trying to fix it at that level. We're trying to plan, manipulate in time to fix it. So we're in the matrix trying to fix the matrix. And Albert Einstein said, no, that's not going to work. You have to transcend the matrix. You have to go to a different level of awareness if you really want to create something sustainable. And that's, by the way, we connect to that through a brain state called theta. So I mentioned the rational mind, the lovely servant we've got. That works in beta and a little bit of alpha. The right brain works more in alpha, but there's another brain state when you stand with your one foot in the left brain, your other foot in the right brain, and you're in neither. You stand on the corpus callosum, and that is theta. It's when your brain waves become balanced, and there's no time. There's no past, there's no future, and there's no memory. Oh, that's frightening to a lot of you. The most frightening thing for most of us is when we start losing our memory. And yet there's another way that transcends memory. It's called superconsciousness. Who's a genius in the room? Anyone? You actually all are. But because you live in the matrix, you're not. Genius is the space between your thoughts. It can't be taught at university, and it isn't taught at university. You know why? Because you can't manipulate it. You can't control it. But that is the savior of the human race, is genius, not the analytical thinking mind. And if you only value yourself and you only see yourself as this processor of information and time, then in a few years' time you're going to be redundant. And if you who rely purely on logic for creating a living, you're going to be redundant, because you're going to come to work one day and there's going to be a little machine sitting there connected to the internet, and it's got AI, and AI can do logical processing of information infinitely better than any human. So it will be doing the accounting, it will be doing the financial management, it will be doing medicine, it will be doing all of that, and you'll be redundant unless you step into your beingness, because AI knows nothing about being. It only knows about analytical processing of information in time. So our true value and our worth as we step into the new consciousness which is being born is through the narrow portal of presence into your true beingness. And I'm going to suggest that our human side is being threatened in radical ways, on purpose, so that we can't cling to that anymore. In that poem I showed you earlier, in that prediction by the Hopi Indians, it says, let go of the shore and push off into the middle of the river. The middle of the river. What is the shore? We stand there, we're in the water, we cling to the rock, our fingers are bleeding, and we've been hit by all the debris coming past, and we're suffering. It says, let go. Let go of your retirement annuities. Let go of your need for security in the physical world. Let go of all that doesn't serve you anymore. And be aligned with the flow of life, which is the river. And then look around you and see who's also joined you, and celebrate that new community that's being born. And work with those people in community to create a sustainable future. It says, I think it's a continuation of that, know where your water is. Grow your own food. That's sustainable. That's a new way of living. And that comes not from centralized government. It comes from community. It comes from communities, from what I know, of about 80 to 100 people getting together. That's optimal. More than that, the ego starts to take over. But under 100, then it's manageable. Self-governing, self-sustaining communities. That's our sustainable future. Not waiting for the government to solve our problems. That they never have and they never will. I'm actually amazed, you know. Most of us don't have much confidence in politicians, or do we? Anyone in the room? You know, they say, how do you tell which politician is lying? He's the one with the moving lips, or she's the one with the moving lips, you know. And yet, we've gone through the last year where we believe politicians. I mean, when have they ever spoken the truth? Why suddenly now in the last year do they suddenly start caring for our health? It's completely insane. So no, it's not to look for political leaders, not to look for religious leaders or spiritual leaders. You are it. And it's the realization of what you really are that is a transformation of consciousness. It's the realization of your own magnificence, of the tremendous power that you have within you to create a new world. That's our salvation, not something in time out there. In fact, this evolution of consciousness is a surrendering of the need for time. Now, for most of your personality selves, that's completely unacceptable. Because without time, there is no value in life. There's no worth in life if we take time away from you. Because we're so embedded in the matrix. And the matrix is a four-dimensional reality, 3 of space and 1 of time. You took time out of that, the matrix would collapse. And we think time is absolutely real, and time isn't real. Time is a mental construct. Don't try and understand that. More real than time, more real than the matrix, is a field of energy that underlies and connects all of life and all of matter, is energy. And that's what Niels Bohr and Einstein and those who started investigating or discovering quantum physics found. Max Planck, when he won the Nobel Prize for Physics, I think in the 1930s, he, at his acceptance speech, he said, there's one thing I've learned about solid matter. He got his Nobel Prize for his research into matter, by the way. Solid matter, not esoteric funny stuff. He said, there's one thing I've learned about solid matter, and that is that matter doesn't exist. All that's real, he said, is mind. Think about that. That this chair is mind. It's mind vibrating at a very dense level, but it's mind. And if you change the mind, you change the chair. Now that's a physicist. Einstein called this realm of interaction spooky action at a distance. Spooky action. Because what they found is that you can influence objects, physical objects, far, far away with no time delay. There's no time for information to travel from this object to that object. And yet there's an instantaneous connection. It was to do with spin couplings of atoms. And this confused Einstein no end. The spooky action at a distance. And we run online workshops, and we've had it several times where on our Zoom call, someone has made an emotional shift in regard to someone significant in their life. And before the end of the Zoom call, they've had a connection with that person who's WhatsApped them, and there's some healing taken place. That's spooky action at a distance. If you change your mind, you change reality. And there's a quote that I use in the retreats and workshops that I run, and it comes from, it's a foundation teaching for the work. It comes from A Course in Miracles. Anyone heard of A Course in Miracles?
Yeah.
Some of you. It says, seek not to change the world. Seek rather to change your mind about the world. And now what if most of our doing this is about? Changing the world, am I right? Changing the mother-in-law, whatever. We're changing our bank account. We're trying to change something. A Course in Miracles says, no, don't seek to do that. Seek rather to change your mind. Why? Because your mind is fundamental and it connects to the field directly. And that's the underlying causation field of all of physical reality. So if I had a piece of paper here and I sprinkled iron filings on top of it, and I took a magnet which creates a field and I put it underneath the paper, what would happen to the iron filings? They'd form two sort of horseshoe grids either side, am I right? If I took the magnet away, they could be moved around. If I put the magnet there and they went into those two patterns, and I took physical force and I've shifted them and I moved them, I could do that. But what would happen when I removed the force?
Go back.
That's correct. So now we have a war on cancer. We have a war on the virus. We have a war on poverty and rape. We're forcing it. But what happens is we perpetuate it. Because we're adding energy to that particular field, that morphic field of experience. Not realizing that what we really need to change is our minds, is the actual causation field underneath that. And you can't change your mind if you are your mind. You can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps, they say. You can only change your mind when you're not your mind. And your point of power is in the present moment. That is probably the most powerful affirmation you can ever work with. You only take one thing home with you today, let it be this. Your point of power is not in the past. It's not in the future. It's not in your mind. It is in the present moment. But if you don't value the present moment, you're never empowered enough to make the changes that you need to make. So most people treat the present moment as an obstacle or as a means to an end. Most people live their lives on a timeline going from past to future. You're born there, you die over here, right? And for most people it's a dash between the birth date on your tombstone and the death date on your tombstone. There's this dash. And life is a continual race to get somewhere. Am I right? All racing to get where? Well, 6 feet under. And maybe at the moment you are in the present moment here, your body is here anyway. When you were sitting, connecting to the chair and breathing, yes, you were here. But the moment you left that, you actually went into a story of past or another story of future. Am I right? That's how we operate. When I give you some information here, you relate it to a past experience or a future projection. And we do that through the left brain's ability to remember or anticipate. Memory anticipation. Am I right? Mm-hmm. This is the sign of infinity. It's a never-ending story. It's like 7 de Laan or whatever is on the soap opera at the moment. It goes on, you know. You meet the same people over and over again in your life, just different bodies, but the same personalities. The bully you had at school shows up in the bully at work. You know, you marry someone and they're fantastic for a while, and then they turn into a drunken bastard, so you get rid of them, and you get another meat suit who's wonderful, and then he turns into the other drunken bastard just wearing a different meat suit. And so we keep on changing the forms of life, but because we're not changing the field, the forms keep on coming back to us in the same form they used to be. Now this is the matrix. This is false evidence appearing real. That is the underlying vibration that keeps the matrix intact, is the perception that it's real. More real than reality. This is your egoic sort of identity. Wayne Dyer said the ego stands for edging God out. Edging God out. There's no divinity in your matrix. It's a story in your head. It's a story. Ego is a denial of presence. That's what ego is. It's a denial of reality. So in this little diagram here, what is real? This tiny little insignificant dot here. And it doesn't have any value, says the ego, who's always running to the future. So when it gets here, it jumps over it and dashes off into time. This is rather like jogging in the morning and someone's removed the manhole cover. You know, you've got to get over it, because that's just emptiness. And I'll die if I go there, says the mind. And if the mind is running you, then you aren't ever going to pause long enough to discover your beingness. You're always going to be the human doing. Always in a rush to get somewhere. In time, in the future. And that is normal. So don't think you're abnormal. You're not abnormal. You are absolutely normal. And normal is insane. It's mad. And I'll tell you why I say that. If you go into a madhouse, if you go into Falkenberg or whatever, and you see someone in the corridor, and they've got a whole story going on. And they're telling you this whole story. And there's no relationship between what they're telling you and what is. Right? They're completely nuts. Am I right? Because there's no presence. There's no awareness of the isness of the moment. They're completely caught up in their thoughts in their head. And they believe their thoughts to be absolutely real. And they tend to come out of their mouth all the time. All these thoughts. Am I right? Now, aren't we all doing that? Aren't we all? I mean, if we didn't have this ability to repress the speech aspect of our thinking, we'd be making a noise all the time, wouldn't we? If we spoke every thought we thought. So, the definition of insanity is the distance between reality and where you are in your awareness. If you're over here, you're very mad. If you're over here, you're extremely mad. If you're here, you are sane. You're completely sane. So this is the normal way of living our life. That is the four-dimensional way of reality. Four dimensions are what? I mentioned them earlier. What are the four dimensions? Width, length, height, and time. Time. This is mind. Mind, time are the same thing. You can't have time without mind, and you can't have mind without time. They're one and the same. Now, the other way of living your life is when you start to enter the vertical plane. The vertical plane. This is the depth of life. This is the story of life. In fact, this story over here is called, I don't know why, but they call it the his story. As if women don't have stories. And Winston Churchill's definition of history is one damn thing after another. I absolutely guarantee you it'll be the same over here. One damn thing after another. Sort one thing out, then you've got another problem. That's the way it works. Because this is the realm of duality. What is duality about? It's about equal and opposites. For every up, there's a down. For every down, there's an up. For every inside, there's an outside. For every yin, there's a yang. You try and have anything without an opposite. It's impossible. All things have opposites. Do they not? You can't have a one-sided coin. But we think, with our mad mind, that my life will be happy when I only have positives in it. That's all I'm going to get there. One day when they're going to make money all free, and chocolate won't make you fat anymore, and it was going to be a wonderful heaven in the future one day when all we have are a bundle of positives. That's what the mind says, because the mind is mad. You can't have a mountaintop without a valley. Or can you? Can you have a valley without a mountain? Can you have a mountain without a valley? So what's the point in only valuing the positives and trying to minimize the negatives when they coexist? Every good you do in the world of duality has to have a counterpoint to that. I remember many years ago, my eldest son, he was ADHD, didn't really fit in the world, and he'd started some rock band actually with Helen Ziller's son. I must just, your ego loves associating with these. And he was smoking pot and doing some pretty horrible drugs, and he playing the darkest music that he thought was so great. And I said to him, Robert, you are a being of light. Why are you playing this? He said, Dad, I've got to counteract the light in the world. The more dark I bring in, the more I allow the light in. I didn't have an argument for him. Smart ass 18-year-old.
That's great.
Everything in duality is opposites, yin yang. It's no good looking for your fulfillment in this. It isn't going to happen. Well, you can have experience in this, enjoy the ups and the downs, but don't look to it to give you anything of any real value or anything of any permanence, because time, unfortunately, kills everything. It's even going to kill you, and it's also a bit of a sadist. If you want to know how bad it is, go and look in the bathroom mirror tomorrow morning and see what it's done to you already. And yet we look to time for our fulfillment. We look to future for our fulfillment, don't we? I'll be happy one day when. The vertical plane is the plane of reality, where your heart is. This is mind. This is heart. And heart is the sort of portal for something which we call love. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
What is love? Who understands love? Has anyone managed to figure it out yet? No, it's like quantum physics. If you understand love, you understand absolutely nothing. Love cannot fit into your mind. Yes, I know we have these pseudo mind love things that we have here, but they tend to also have the opposite at the same time, called hate. Love and hate, they go together, says the mind. No, the love that we yearn for isn't a dualistic love, is it? It's more of an unconditional love, not the conditional love of mind. The conditional love of mind is I love you because you meet my needs. Am I right? Mm-hmm. That's the dualistic love of need. This whole matrix is about need. You need more time. You need more stuff to make you happy. You need more experience, more knowledge. I need to go on a few of John's workshops to acquire more stuff, says the mind. Then I'll have it. Then I'll be happy. Where in fact what we're looking for is unconditional. It's not conditional on time. It's not conditional on false evidence appearing real. It's beyond time. So you can't understand love. It does not fit into understanding. And yet we connect directly with it when we enter the present moment. Because when you fall in love and you go to that candlelight dinner and you sit there across the table, candlelight is flickering and your glass of wine is there, where's your focus? Is it on what your mother said to you when you were 10 years old? Is it on the bills that have to be paid at the month end? Or is it just here, now, in this moment? And if you are busy judging in that moment, that relationship isn't going to go anywhere. because love is non-judgmental. It's in a state of pure acceptance. Acceptance. And the other thing that it does, it allows. Sorry, this pen isn't writing too well. It allows. That's what love does. Where the mind judges and resists. Yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
That's what the mind does. It's always putting up resistance to life. It says no to life. And every time you say no to life, you tie a knot in you and you become very knotted. And you block the chi from flowing through you. And it manifests generally in dis-ease. Dis-ease happens from the matrix. The vertical plane is a plane of ease. This is where healing takes place. The more presence you bring into your awareness, the more you heal your mind, body, and soul. Because your body goes back to equilibrium. When you're attached to this, you know what another word for this is? It's that wonderful thing called life. When you are connected to life, you're alive. Your body is going to heal. When you're disconnected and you're in your mind, you're robbing your body of life. And your body will die. That's what cancer is. Cancer is a lack of life in the cells. And they go into a defensive mode. So they can become anaerobic. It's a defense mechanism against your lack of presence. This is dis-ease. This is ease. Now, for most people, they say, no, life's not there. Life's over there. I have a life. You know, and my life is my past and my future. No, that's your circumstances of life. That's your story of life. Those are your thoughts about life, but they're not life. Life is exactly the same as love. It can't be understood. And you enter your direct connection with life when you enter the space between your thoughts. When you become your true essence, which is being. So that's the human doing, and this is the beingness. And the only time you're really connected is when you are here. Then you are the human being. And this is the symbol which Christians adopted a few hundred years ago and made it the cross, the symbol of a very profound teaching. But it's been misunderstood. Because this was borrowed from earlier pagan thinking and thoughts and religion. And this is when spirit intersects the mind. When spirit intersects the body. That's what this symbol originated from that. So this vertical plane is the plane of the spirit, or the light. Light. Now this world is a world of 10,000 things. There's lots of things here, physical things. This is the world, or the realm, or the dimension of no thingness. And that's why your mind doesn't value this, because it's not a thingness. The mind only values objects. And this is space consciousness. This is object consciousness. Spirit is not a thing. Light is not a thing. Being is not a thing. Love is not a thing. Ease is not a thing. Life is not a thing. And we can put another beautiful word here, and that word is peace. Does anyone yearn for peace? Peace is not a thing. And we can put the word freedom here. Freedom is not a thing. It's an awareness. It's an experience. All of these can be experienced, but they can't be held in memory or anticipation. They can be lived directly. Now this is what I call the map of the matrix. And this has changed the lives of many thousands of people. Because what this does, it illustrates an escape hatch out of the matrix. When you start to value beingness more than doingness, you empower yourself with a connection to the Creator itself. The Creator that creates everything, but is not part of the Creator, or of the created. And there's a word for that. Does anyone know what that word is? When Moses was wandering through the desert, he came to a burning bush. And he said to the burning bush, "But who are you? Now, give me a name." the only place in the Bible that God gave himself a name. And what did he say his name was? Ea Asher. I am that I am. Ea Asher, Ea. I am that I am. And guess what? It's your name when you're not in the matrix. The I am is who you are. Now, I am John. John is a story. It started over there and it's here. So John is in the matrix. But the I am is not in the matrix. I can change my name, but I can't change the I am. John ages. The I am never ages. The same I amness that I am now is the same I amness that occupied a 6-month-old body and now occupies a 65-year-old body. It's the same I amness. Hasn't aged at all because this is timeless. This is time. As I say, don't try to understand this with your mind because this is beyond mind. That is mind. This is awareness. And I started this afternoon's talk by saying that awareness is the greatest agent for change. Awareness, not doing this. The human doing values only moving objects around to get its needs met. Am I right? It values resistance or acquisition or attachment. This has no attachment. It has no expectations because it works through acceptance and allowing. Now, if I accepted the world the way it is, it would never change. Really? I'm going to suggest that the world is like a wave. A wave is the ocean rippling in duality. So you have a wave that becomes polarized. There's stillness, there's no polarization, and then there's a gradual polarization. And a wave, we give it a birth certificate quickly. Oh, look, there's Peter being born out there. Oh, Peter's getting so big. Oh, look, there's people surfing on Peter. Oh, no, it's dead. It crashed. And now we all walk around the beach wearing black, mourning that wave that just died on the rocks. Now that is the formless becoming form and then going back to the formless again. And that requires time, and it gives you the experience. But beneath all that is the ocean. This is the ocean, beyond time, and you are the ocean. The I am is the ocean. And while you get many waves, you only have one ocean. There's only one I amness. There's only one love. There's only one presence. There's only one spirit. There's only one light. They're not divisible. Only that which is in time is divisible. As we start to awaken and start to value this, our lives change immeasurably. I used to worry a lot. I used to be in fear. I used to be in anxiety. That's why I have no hair today, because I worry too much. Now the real reason is when you think a lot, you lose hair here. But when you're sexy, you lose hair there. But when you think you're sexy, you lose hair over the whole body. So I used to live very much in the matrix. And gradually I have shifted my life where I live most of the time in presence. And what a difference it makes. It's impossible for me to worry anymore. It's something that I can't do. It's an impossibility. You can only worry when you're in the matrix. You only suffer when you're in the matrix. I do not suffer anymore. I used to suffer a lot. Don't suffer anymore. You become more intelligent. You become more loving. You become more connected to people around you when you are present. So hopefully this motivates you to let go of the need to be a thingness and start to value no-thingness. No-thingness is the most frightening thing for your mind to ever comprehend, because in order for you to realize your no-thingness, the mind has to give up its control. And it will fight tooth and nail to keep you in pain and suffering. To tell you that, no, this is all very well, but I have kids to feed, I have problems to sort out. There are many layers to this, because the I am is your sole provider. S-O-U-L and S-O-L-E, sole provider. We think the matrix is our provider. And the matrix says, you think I'm your provider? Well, that's where you're going to stay locked in. The moment you start to understand that life is your provider, it lives you. You don't even have a life. Life has you. Life lives you. You know, I know a lot of parents think they made their kids. Well, I'm going to suggest that as parents, you don't know how to build a kidney or an eyeball or make a neurological dendrite. You don't know how to make a lung or a liver. You have no idea. So no, you didn't make your kids. You had 5 minutes of fun with your partner, and 9 months later, this beautiful thing came out, and you know what created it? Life. The I am presence. This is what created you. You don't know how to build a fingernail. You have no idea. And I love the little fingers, fingernails on little babies. It's so perfect. It's so beautiful. No, parents, you didn't make your kids. You facilitated life to live through you and manifest and create through you. And that's the way you can live your whole life. As if every single moment you're making love. Now let's just talk about making love. Has anyone made love before? A few of you. When you're making love at the moment of orgasm, are you in your matrix or are you in presence? If you are making love and you're thinking about the dishes in the sink or your mother-in-law or whatever, you aren't going to have that orgasm. It's not going to happen. Only when you let go of your mind can you experience something called...
Gamma brainwave.
What's it called?
Gamma brainwave.
Yes. Bliss. Not beta. Not even alpha. Something very different. This is all within the vertical plane, or accessible to you through the vertical plane, not in the horizontal plane. Sometimes we get something in the horizontal plane and we feel good for a while. Why do we feel good when we get what we've been yearning for so long? Because we do feel good when we get something. Am I right? Why? Is it not? It's not that tin, car with rubber wheels that gives you bliss. What happens is you give up wanting. You give up needing something to be other than what it is. And for a moment you slip into presence. And then you experience that joy. And you think the car gave it to you. Or the new boyfriend gave it to you. No. They never gave you anything. What happened is your mind stopped. That's what happens when you fall in love. Your friends say, have you lost your mind? And you say, yeah, it's wonderful. And it is. It's lovely to be in love. Not in attachment, which is what most people associate relationships with. Getting your needs met, getting your insecurities papered over. That's not love. That is egoic attachment, wanting, needing. And it's illusion, and it creates false evidence appearing real. Always. So if you start to use this as a map of reality and start to divest your attention from the matrix, from time, and make your focus more in what you are busy with now, what is here with you now. So for example, if you're writing a book, let's say you're writing a book, there's a lot of doing involved. But if you're making the outcome of the book your primary focus, you're missing the journey. And that book will be devoid of spirit. It will be devoid of presence. Because it was all about an outcome. When you make what you're doing now, I'm writing this sentence, that's where I am. I'm cooking this meal. This is where I am. I'm not at the table already eating it, already doing the dishes in half an hour. I'm not there. I'm here. I'm talking to this person now. I'm not waiting for them to stop speaking so I can jump in and give my point of view. I'm here, just listening to them in this moment. And listening is a portal into the vertical plane. Listening is a very powerful portal to allow you, because when you truly listen, you can't think. If you're making too much noise here, you're not listening. And there are a couple of other portals which I can give you to help. But listening is a very powerful portal. And the more you listen, guess what you activate? Love. Don't we all want to be heard? All of us. Yes? Are we prepared to give it? Are we prepared to give unconditional presence to someone? Are we prepared to provide the space for them to communicate? Not judging, not anticipating, not defending, just holding the space for them. That's love, is it not? Yes? That's love. This field of energy all centers around the human body, around the heart, not around the brain. The heart, I think, is something like 30,000 times more powerful in the field than the brain. And yet we have been educated to believe it's all about the understanding, the knowledge in the brain. Yes or no? Yeah? Because through education you are controlled. Through love, you're beyond control. And the more you invest your awareness in fear or anxiety or time or future or past, the more controlled you are. The more you invest your awareness in love, in presence, the freer you are. And what does the world want you to be in right now? Einstein said the field is the sole determinant of the particle. The only determinant of what shows up in the physical reality is what's in the field. And the field doesn't speak English. Nikola Tesla said, if you wish to understand the universe, think of energy, frequency, and vibration. Nikola Tesla, who is he? I met a guy who was very high up at Eskom, electrical engineer. And I had a shop in the waterfront, and he used to come there, and I met him one day. He said, thank you for having the shop. Thank you for stocking his material. He said, in all my years of electrical engineering, Nikola's name was never brought up once. And what did Nikola invent? Alternating current. Do you think they would teach an electrical engineer about Nikola Tesla? Why do they not teach that? Where did Nikola's information come from? Did it come from this process, or did it come from alignment with presence? He was a genius. It came outside of mind. They don't want you to know about it because this contains something called freedom. Free. And he invented free power. No, we can't have any of that. So his name is wiped out of history. A man who invented radar, radio, remote controls. He's not taught because he's a danger to the matrix. The world is a grid of energy. We see it as a physical platform, but it isn't. It's a vibrating, alive energy field. Very much alive. And we connect it through the brain. It's alive. It's not something to be plundered. It's not something to be abused. It's not something to be raped. It's something to be appreciated. It's a sacred essence of being. The earth is a being. It's the same being that you are. That's the field of connection that we have with it. Reality is whatever you choose to pay attention to. Where, on a day-to-day basis, do you invest most of your attention? Do you base it in time, or do you base it in life? Think about that. Do you focus a lot on your doingness, or do you focus on valuing your beingness in any one moment? If any of you got young children, I urge you not to be a parent doing, but to be present and to offer your children your presence. Not your manipulative, controlling, needy mind, but your presence. Give them that gift. That's the biggest gift you can ever give kids. It's your presence. No conditions, just pure acceptance in this moment. And when we start to focus on that, the world changes by itself. The reality changes. It's called spooky action at a distance. In other words, you didn't go out and manipulate anything, but it changed. What's another word for that? Miracle. Anyone believe in miracles here? What is miracle but something changing and you didn't do anything? Anton Rupert said, a man who does not believe in miracles does not believe in life. Einstein said there's two ways to live your life. One is if everything's a miracle, and the other way is if nothing's a miracle. You can't have both. He said, I choose to live my life as if everything's a miracle. Because another word for this, by the way, if you haven't guessed it already, is something that's been really abused by the matrix for control purposes. But the other word that fits in here is grand organizing design. And it's not a thingness. It's not a judgmental thingness. It's beingness. You are it. You are that grand organizing design. That's how powerful you are. Except you've been brainwashed, you've been hypnotized into believing you're not. This time that we're going through now is called the apocalypse. The apocalypse, for any of you who speak Greek, means for the veil to come down, for that which is hidden to be revealed. That's the joy, that's the gift of what we're going through now, because the matrix is becoming very unstable. And it's easier to wake up from a nightmare than a comfortable dream. Am I right? So as life becomes more and more of a nightmare, we are greatly incentivized to wake up from that dream. When the future becomes very unstable, there are people, for example, on death row, who've done horrendous crimes. And suddenly they wake up. Why? Because there's no future. Their future is gone. People who have terminal illnesses, sometimes right at the end, they do something that is completely unacceptable to the mind. And they surrender. The mind doesn't surrender. It would rather have you suffer than give up. And these people who do give up become one with life. And all suffering disappears. Alan Watts, any of you follow Alan Watts? He says to die completely annihilated, completely surrendered, is the successful way to leave this planet. And this is a little doorway over here. Always draw it over here. So this is a little doorway which allows you to get there, and the doorway has a sign and it says surrender. Surrender. Sorry about my writing. Surrender. And that leads you into love, leads you into life, leads you into presence. Reality is whatever you choose to put your attention on. Day to day, where do you put your attention? Is it on the media? Is it on the news? Is it on a so-called virus? Is it on the collapse of the economy? Is it on what's going to happen? Or is it on the joy of life? Where do you put your attention? Do you live your life, or are you currently dying? This matrix, by the way, is made of bricks, and I counted them one day. There are approximately 60,000 bricks every day in the matrix. Those bricks are your thoughts. And generally, 95% of the bricks you use today are the same ones you had yesterday, because the thoughts are repetitive and redundant. They serve no purpose other than to bolster your egoic identity of who I am in past and who I am in future. They're not creative in any way at all. You stay locked in repetitive thinking programs. You stay addicted to your mind, addicted to your thoughts, addicted to your story. And it's mad, as I said, it's insane, because you are this. You are magnificent. You are free, and you are powerful beyond measure. That's who you are right now, sitting in this meat suit. It's not something that's going to happen in the future. You're already it. In the Bible it says God made you in his image and similitude. He didn't say I'm going to make you one day when you pay me some money, or you pray this way, or you eat the right food, or you become vegan. No, he didn't say any of that. He said you're already it. And you don't have to do anything to be it, because you are it already. But we've created our creation of mind of not good enough. And we have turned our back on God's creation. And we've made our world more important than reality. And because of that, we suffer. Suffering is all mind created. What is that on the board?
Flower.
Our mind puts it together in a way that it can comprehend, and it sees a face. Because that's what we're doing every moment of the day. We take objects and we arrange them in a way that we can understand and live a sort of secure life by. Moment to moment to moment. We're making up reality. And if you change your mind, you change reality.
Are you saying the matrix disappears?
For you, yes. For you, yes. Doesn't mean that you're not removing other people's illusion. This is the planet of free will. So one gift we have, free will. And you're not here to remove anyone else's free will. You can raise the vibration. You can bring about spring more exuberantly, and then maybe other people will see, oh, lots of flowers. Maybe it's time for me to wake up as well. You can make it easier for other people to wake up, but you cannot wake them up. It's not your job. What is your job?
To be in the light.
To be the light. That's why you're here. To be. Full stop. To be. And your radiance, your magnificence, will be the best teacher for those around you.
John, so if from this moment some people get it and change the reality, and the other people still carry on fearing COVID masks and all that stuff, does that mean that they disappear from my reality?
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to you anymore. It matters to you now while you have resistance.
But
When
will
you
I
have no
still see them?
resistance,
Will I still see them?
yes, yes. But what happens, someone asked me this question a number of years ago. When you are enlightened, do I still need to be here? And I didn't want them to go. So I said, no, you're still going to be here. You have to be here. And the truth is, no, you don't have to be anymore, because now you're the conscious creator of your reality, and you can then choose to consciously leave. But when you're part of the matrix, your free will is keeping you locked in the matrix, and then the matrix has something called karma. And karma is the law of as you sow, so you reap, and you're bound by that law. And you don't have the free will to create what you want here, because it's a conditioned universe. Your creatorship is conditioned by past. Only by stepping off the wheel of karma are you then the true creator. And then, Judy, you can choose which reality you fully want to live in. You can live in this world, and you can become an avatar. An avatar is someone who's fully awakened and chooses still to add their energy back to earth. There are many other awakened masters who left, but there are a few avatars who still remain on earth. And that's a choice. That's a free will. And it doesn't matter whether you stay here or leave. Whatever brings you joy. And if it gives you joy to remain on earth and spread the light that you do, Judy, that's beautiful and wonderful. But in that moment, you have the absolute free choice as to whether to be incarnate or not. Just very briefly, we're running out a bit of time here, but I just want to share this with you. The wheel of karma, because this is very valid. The wheel of karma keeps you locked in time. And it's not a smooth wheel. It's actually full of duality, bumps, up and downs, positives and negatives, preferences and judgments. That's the matrix of the mind. And it requires time. And it's always moving, going around. And you find yourself back where you began again. And people say, well, I'd rather like it. Well, you've got as many lives as you want. 30,000 lifetimes to go round and round and round and round, and you have a fight with them in this life, and next time you marry them, and next time they come back as your child. It's wonderful. It's a very drama. It goes around and around and round and round. And right now, this wheel, what I used to teach in the Mayan calendar, because what Mayan calendar, as it led up to 2012, was the progression of increase in occurrences. So time was speeding up. And right now, this wheel is going very, very fast, to the point where virtually anything is possible now. Where in the old days, when your grandparents were married, their life was pretty much fixed for almost a lifetime. Now you can have many lifetimes. What used to be a generation of change when we were born was 20 years. And now you can have that generation of change in just a week. That's how fast this wheel is going. Now, when it's going slowly, you can live these bumps. I'm up and I'm down. No, I'm up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And it's very uncomfortable to live your life on the periphery of a wheel. But where is stillness in a wheel? Right in the hub of the wheel, right there. And that hub is given the name of the Creator. And the John part sits in the matrix, trying to find himself in time, trying to secure himself, the egoic, mind-made personality.
Going around in circles.
Going around a circle, thank you, Craig. But right in the center, I didn't draw it properly, but right in the center, where you are right now, not going to be in the future. You are already in the center. Except you have taken your awareness and you've invested it in your story, and now you off-center and you suffer. It takes one conscious breath, one breath taken with conscious awareness to come back to your center. And in the center, there is no karma. There's no matrix. There's no fear. There's awareness. Awareness is the greatest agent for change. Not the doingness, but the beingness. And beingness, the other word, one other word that I used just now for that, is love. Love is the greatest agent for change. And that's your power, not here. There are very powerful forces in the egoic. People have completely lost their identity here and infested all their energy here. And they manipulate this zone. But they have no power over this. Zero. You cannot be manipulated in any way at all when you are centered. You're powerful beyond measure. You are the creator of all that is when you are centered. Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend. And most people have made life into an enemy. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yes, Judy.
Could you reference what you've just shown us there in the whole COVID scammy, hoaxy worldview?
It's all here.
And us.
It's all a movie.
Yeah.
It's all a movie.
And so what would, to get to that middle point,
One conscious
us a
breath,
fig-
Judy.
one breath.
One.
I take lots of breaths, John.
No, you don't. No. It's your autonomous reptilian brain that breathes you.
Okay.
You're not breathing. When you breathe with awareness, your mind goes completely clear. In that moment, you're free. And you connected through genius to the field of infinite possibility. I did a workshop once where we bent forks and knives. I don't know if anyone's done that before. And they become plastic in your hands. Because you enter presence and physical reality is no longer physical anymore. And I've got the forks and spoons at home all bent into these shapes that I, with my normal power, couldn't do. But when you enter presence, everything becomes plastic. I first experienced that when I was about 10 years old. I had a particular experience. It was just like unreal. Nothing is real out there. Whatever I put my mind on, I create. And then I, went back to sleep again because I had to have this human experience so that I could go through all that I've gone through so that I can teach what I teach today from an experiential point of view, not from an academic point of view, but I've directly been through so much in my life. And that enriches me to shine my light in the way that I shine. So I needed to go through that, but I also needed certain glimpses of this other reality. And I've had many glimpses of that. When I was 5 years old or 6, I died. My mother prayed and prayed, and I came back alive again. I was in a hospital in Zim, in Harare. And so I've touched these other realms and come back. And when you've been there, you know this is a made-up reality, Judy. COVID's a made-up reality, and we give it power by believing in it. That's the problem. And the more you resist something, guess what? You give it more power.
Yeah.
And feed the fear.
I just have a question. If someone has had like a near-death experience and they're still alive and they don't understand why, would you say that they're obviously still going in that circle and they just need to go back to
There's
find...
massive momentum in this, you must understand.
Yeah.
Massive momentum. Many people have brief awakenings called Satori, and then they make a thing out of it. They went here, but now what happens, they tie it to a set of circumstance, a particular
Yeah.
day on the beach when the sun was so beautiful, and they want to go back there again, not realizing that it was here.
Yeah.
And it's always here. And there's no memory, there's no anticipation in it. There's direct experience of it. And in order to be it, you just have to give up your story. That's all. Are you prepared to give up your story? And most people say, yes, well, no. Yes.
Can you explain love?
Love cannot be explained. Love is a direct experience. As I said earlier, love is a no-thingness And the signposts that take us to sort of the awareness of love is acceptance, allowing, and appreciation. And seeing beauty in everything that you look at. That's the portal into that experience of love. And it's all that is. There is nothing else. So, you know, the Bible says, take the log out of your eye. We're busy trying to take the splinter of everyone else, not realizing that the only thing that blocks us from love is our perception. As we clear our perception, we directly realize love. Rumi said, our task is not to seek love, but to remove the barriers within us to love. That's our task. And there's nothing wrong with where you are. It's a wonderful movie that we all signed up for. And we're just pretending to have amnesia. And we're pretending this is real, and it's fine, Judy. You've got a bit of amnesia. It's great because it gives everyone, you know, if you didn't have amnesia, we couldn't have this beautiful venue. And you're trying to find yourself in doing, and that's wonderful, and I really appreciate you for doing that.
But do we have it?
Do we
Or
have
is it
what?
just an illusion?
Do we have? This is
This
a wonderful
beautiful
illusion, as Albert Einstein says, albeit a very persistent illusion. Yeah, it's an illusion. And same as going into a cinema, you know, and it's a two-dimensional on the wall over there. It's an illusion. Now, can you imagine our technology in 1,000 years' time? We've got these fully 3D, full immersion movies. When Elon Musk was asked, you know, is this base reality? He said, there's no chance of this being base reality. We're in AI. And we are making it all up. This is called Maya. This is what this is. And we've lost ourselves in our own creation. This is our creation, and it's great to have. But the problem is we've lost ourselves in our creation. This is not God's creation. This is our creation. This is the part that's asleep that's creating this. This is the part of us that's awake. I've shared a lot this afternoon, and I'm sure I've fried your brains to the most extent. But hopefully what has happened is I've planted some seeds within you. And if you start nurturing, watering, attending, paying attention to those seeds, they will manifest. Yes, Judy?
It just seems like if we take it all this trouble to choose to be born into this planet where this meets you, that seems a bit silly to say, oh no, but now I've got to take one deep breath and go out of it. I mean, you took all that trouble to get
Yeah,
there.
you didn't take much trouble, Judy. Maybe you did, but most of us are so unenlightened that it's just karmic patterns of repeating patterns. The momentum of past keeps us trapped in the matrix. So in this lifetime, you know, you swore you'd get even with them, and so you had to come back to this lifetime to get even with them, and then they get even with you, and it goes on and on and on and on. And then you have that desire to have a relationship with that person, and you never were able to, so you come back again. Your desires lock you into the matrix, and that's why one of the steps is to become desirelessness. It's not to meet all your desires, which is what some people think, because desires are endless. There's always more and more desire. It's not to have desire. When you are present, there cannot be any desire, because you realize that I have everything that could possibly be desired. What can you desire when you know you are it? You can only have desire when there's a perception of separation. And if you end the perception of separation, you will become the infinite creator.
It's better to travel hopefully than to arrive, is what you're saying.
I don't like the word hope, Judy, and I'll tell you why, because hope sits in time. Hope is the four-letter word that keeps us locked in the matrix. I agree that hope, if you're in a deep hole of depression, hope can take you out of that hole, but it will keep you locked in the matrix.
Sure.
Because it's time-based. Shut your eyes for a moment. All shut your eyes. One of the powerful ways of transcending the matrix is through vibration. And sound is a beautiful vibration. So let's just listen to some music for a moment.
Just a place we call paradise. Each of us has his own. It has no name, no, it has no price. It's just a place hope taking flight, like wings of hope taking flight.
Take a very deep breath in. And as you breathe out, just relax your shoulders and your neck muscles. Just let go. Take another very deep breath in, right down to your toes. And a long, relaxing, releasing breath out. Let it go. Let all time go. Let all story go. Let all past and all future go. Breathe in again. Breathe in the lovely, blue, pristine presence. And as you breathe out, completely surrender to the isness of just this moment. And right now, see if you can hear the beating of your own heart in your eardrums. Listen very carefully and see if you can hear that beating. Every time your heart beats, it pushes a pressure wave through your eardrum. Listen very carefully and become aware of the awareness that listens. You are that awareness. There's no story, there's no name, there's no gender, there's no race, there's no age, there's no achievement, there's no need. You are the awareness that underlies the story, and that awareness is divinely perfect. You are that. Now is the time to awaken, to realize, to see with real eyes your true, authentic self. Take another deep breath in. And breathe out and gently open your eyes. I want you to realize that the one power you have access to that you can start working with from this moment forward is the power of feeling. You find peace and purpose not by rearranging the circumstances of your life, but realizing who you are at the deepest level. You are peace. The more you invest your awareness, your feeling in peace, in joy, in love, the more you become the change you wish to see in the world. It's in joy. Love is your feeling of connection, connection to life, connection to community, connection to all that is, while fear is your misperception of separation. Fear is false. Love is real. So if we invest our emotions, the power of creation, in false evidence appearing real, we perpetuate the pain and the suffering for humanity. As we invest our awareness in connection, in community, in appreciation, in beauty, we become a powerful instrument of healing and transformation. And you can choose in this moment which world you want to create for yourself and for your children. And I want to give you a final tool to shift you. You see, to forgive is to release a prisoner and discover that you were that prisoner. That's a wonderful quote. We won't go through the power of forgiveness now. We'll do that some other time. But forgiveness is the last step that we take into the surrendered zone. It's a very vital step. It's a very powerful step. To forgive each moment as it occurs so that you don't take the previous moment into your present. So you don't take yesterday into your tomorrow. Now, I'm going to give you the final tool for the afternoon, and that's the power of rewiring your brain. Your brain is the instrument for the unconditioned consciousness to manifest in the world of conditionality. It's a step-down transformer. But in the process of transforming, what it does, it filters and it colorates the information coming through. But if you rewire your brain, you allow more pure essences of consciousness, of genius, of problem solving to come into your awareness. And one of the ways of rewiring your brain, the main way is through presence, by the way. It doesn't take long in presence to rewire the brain. We know from neurology that presence rewires the brain. First of all, there are 3 P's to affirmations. When you make an affirmation, see that they all contain 3 P's, that they're about you, not about someone else, that they're positive, and that they are present tense. Not about I'm going to, but I am. Okay. So, try this. What does that say? I've gone deaf.
I'm
Joy.
I'm still deaf.
I am joy.
You know, I teach public speaking, and one of the things we teach people is if you're talking to an audience over 50, you have to actually have a microphone, because people over 50 start going deaf. I'm over 50, so I can't hear you.
I am joy.
Now, when you say it, I want you to feel it. Okay, one more time.
I am joy.
Correct. That's a powerful affirmation. Now, we think 60,000 thoughts a day. If you say that once a day, you make no impact on your matrix. You have to say it 200 to 500 times a day. I am joy. I am joy. And you have to fake it initially. Okay. So I know you don't believe it right now, but the more you say it, the more you realize it, and it becomes your true being. I am joy. And the other one I'm going to give you, I am in love. Let's try that.
I am in love.
Let me hear you.
I am in love.
Now say it with feeling, please feel it. Now let me tell you how to feel. Let me tell you how to feel. You are that ocean I spoke about. That ocean is the ocean of love. You are in that ocean of love. You have a membrane around you, a membrane of matrix, of misperception, of judgment that separates you from the ocean. But you are in it already. And by saying this affirmation, you dissolve that membrane of preference, of resistance, of polarization, and you become one with that field of love. So let's say it again, but now say it with your right hand on your heart. And loud, I want to hear it. And when you say it, I want you to emphasize that word. All right. 1, 2, 3.
I am in love.
You are. And the more you say that, you transform not only yourself, but the whole world. Thank you for being with me this afternoon. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. Thank you. We have some cards on the table just for an advert. I wonder if I've got the advert here. Just one moment. Gratitude, the power of gratitude. I was going to go through, but I'm not going to. Just a plug. We have online Journeys of Awakening. Journeys of Awakening is a portal to presence. We have 2 programs running there. One is a Journey to Freedom. It's a 13-week course. I know some of you in this room have done it or are doing it. It's a transformational 13-week journey to a place that you never left. And it's powerful. All right, young lady.
Please. I've done it 3 times.
Wow, really?
Wow.
I started it.
Find it.
Yes, absolutely. And you need that time.
Yeah.
You need it. It's an organic process. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
So that's the one program. The next course is starting on the 10th of June. 10th of June. And then the other one which we have is an ongoing monthly platform. Just month by month by month. There are 2 Zoom on this one, by the way, there are 4 Zoom meetups a month. You get a whole journal, 5 questions, 5 pages to go through every week. And it's not difficult.
Meditation.
It's self-exploration.
Meditation.
Meditation, we give you a meditation, we give you affirmation, we give you a couple of teaching videos, and 4 Zoom meetups with us every month. And then the inner space, we give you 2 Zoom meetups, we give you meditation, and we give you some journaling work to do and some creative exercise to do. And that you can join just for 1 month or for a whole year. If you join for a year, you get 2 months free. So the one for May is to do with self-worth, which is really primary to our experience of joy and wellness and prosperity in the world. Because the world doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are. Because the universe is a mirror. And if you don't have it here, you're not going to experience it out there. So that's a little plug. Love is the bridge between you and everything. Thank you very much for being with us this afternoon.
Well done, John. Very nice.
Thank you, Judy.